we sat down with Bo Zhang and discussed her new publishing venture, Moth Press, which focuses on folklore, dark genres, Asian American and Hmong stories with traditional and non-traditional lead characters, including women and ethnic leads. You can find more conversations on our website, lacrosselocal.com. I'm Amy.
And I'm Brent.
And this is Lacrosse Local.
We interviewed you on independent film and your nonprofit for independent Hmong farmers, which you can check out in episode 64. But today we're going to talk about a new venture, Moth Press. So what is the purpose of Moth Press?
Right now, our purpose is to share stories that are not mainstream. For example, we have released the first short story series centered on superstitions, true ghost stories, and Hmong folklore, such as the Great Flood, according to Hmong. And if you break that story down, it has a few events that can be put into the genre of horror. But our focus is on folklore, dark genre, Asian American and Hmong stories. And I'm definitely quoting this from our website, but we are more focused on traditional, non-traditional lead characters, including women and ethnic leads. And our goal is to have a platform for greater diversification in literature.
I know of folklore. I'm sure I've heard a few stories. How does folklore fit into the picture when sharing stories? Is it more prevalent in different cultures than others?
Yeah, it is more widespread in different cultures with bigger populations and more opportunities to share them through other channels, such as books and films. As for my own culture, we are a smaller group of people, and some folklore are well known among our people, and some are still not as well known because as an adult, I'm still discovering new stories almost every year. I'm learning a brand new story. The traditions in oral storytelling, such as folklore, are being less and less practiced today with the younger generation.
So, I mean, in some capacity, Moth Press is kind of helping put these stories up front for people. So, I mean, a story that would normally in your culture be told at a family gathering, these are actually kind of being written down and recorded for future generations.
That's essentially the goal. My original goal is to just try and share some of these stories that might be lost along the way with our younger generations. And something I just want to mention is folklore shares the same foundation as any story structure, which has like a main character, a setting, a plot, and a conflict. But I want people to keep in mind that folklore lack a resolution, a solution to the story. Sometimes it doesn't even have a real ending. And that could probably upset some people who love like happy endings or need closure to a story. People need to remember that these are very old stories, tall tales, lore. These stories are meant to be observed, and they essentially have the history of a people in it, and the culture and their traditions and their myths and music and beliefs. And it's not, a full-on story all the time.
Oral storytelling has been a big part of your childhood, as you said. How did that inform your own process with starting the press?
Yes, as a child, I remember going to sleep almost every night listening to my mom tell a story relevant to my culture, and she'd fall asleep during the long epic ones, but I was always listening. I knew I wanted to tell stories for a living, but it was also important for me to tell stories that I could identify with. My parents and people of their generation are proud of their culture and heritage, and they practice their traditions regularly. They do it very well. It's different with younger generations of Hmong Americans today, and I'm included in that group. I try my very best to participate in some of our traditions. That's why I think it's very important to preserve traditions from a culture such as storytelling and folklore, because our people's existence and our history are rooted in these stories.
You kind of touched on this. You talked about your own generation and struggles with keeping in touch with the past. What are some other reasons? Like, what do you hope to get out sharing these stories in history? Just reading some of your stories that I did last night is how I can relate to those. And it might make references to great floods, which, go from anything from the Ark to other entities that talk about the big canoe, and it kind of travels along different parallels that people may find that this stuff is actually very familiar to their own past.
I don't have an expectation from sharing these stories on Moth Press, but my goal was to start sharing some of these stories I grew up with, as well as my own fact and fiction. I hope people enjoy them. I hope people find new stories, discover new worlds, and learn a little bit about the Hmong culture. Again, these are just stories, so please don't take them so seriously. Sometimes I find myself in a story, and I hope some people can do that too.
It's definitely where it could put yourself in that position to see that point of view. So what's next for the press? What's happening over the next year?
So Moth House Press is releasing a couple different short series throughout the year. We also have a few books scheduled to be published and released as well. And we're just looking forward to expanding our company right now.
So are you looking for more authors, or do you have an idea of people that how they can contribute or be published?
Right now, our first short series, we have a local artist, Scott Cheek, is working with some of our stories that will be up very soon. And we are looking for new authors, but that might be later on in the year, probably next year sometime. And people who are interested can keep up with our website and updates as well.
So if people do want to follow along, what's the best avenue for them? Where can they find out more?
They can go to our main website. It's mothhouse.org. There's links to all our social media pages that will keep people updated and informed on all our events and stories as well.
La Crosse Local Podcast is a production of River Travel Media. Do you have an interview idea you would like to share with us? Message us on Facebook at La Crosse Locals. Subscribe to the La Crosse Local Podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you like us, rate us 5 stars. We thank you for it.